I just bought your company." The message flashed across her phone screen in the middle of the gala, beneath the golden chandeliers and the crystal laughter of the city's elite. 4 simple words. 4 words that made the CEO's daughter feel like the ground had vanished beneath her heels. Her breath caught. The music faded. The applause in the ballroom turned into a distant hum. And in that single moment, the empire she thought she controlled slipped silently through her fingers. Before we step further into this story of pride, pain, and unexpected redemption, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humility. Stories like this remind us that no title or fortune can protect us from the lessons life sends our way. The ballroom glittered with wealth. Diamonds shimmered under warm lights. Politicians and investors raised glasses of champagne to celebrate the quarterly success of Laurent Global Holdings, one of the most powerful companies in the city. At the center stood Amelia Laurent, the 28-year-old daughter of the legendary CEO, poised in an elegant ivory gown that hugged her perfectly sculpted confidence. She had inherited not just her father's company, but also his sharp tongue and icy ambition. People respected her, feared her, and quietly envied her. But Amelia had never known struggle. She grew up shielded from rejection, buffered by private tutors, chauffeurs, and a boardroom that always nodded in agreement. She believed success was her birthright. Across town, in a small apartment above a quiet grocery store, Daniel Reyes was finishing dishes while helping his 8-year-old son with math homework. He was a single father who had once worked for Laurent Global as a mid-level manager. Brilliant, innovative, but soft-spoken. 3 years earlier, he had presented an idea that could revolutionize the company's logistics system. Amelia, fresh from business school and eager to assert dominance, had dismissed him in front of senior executives. She called his proposal naive and small-minded. Within months, Daniel was quietly laid off during a restructuring. What Amelia never knew was that Daniel had poured his savings into developing that same idea independently. He worked nights, coded through exhaustion, and built a lean startup from his cramped kitchen table while his son slept on the couch nearby. There were months when he skipped meals so his son wouldn't notice how tight money had become. There were nights he doubted himself, staring at rejection emails from investors who saw only a single dad with no backing. But Daniel refused to give up. Not because of pride. Because of love. His platform grew slowly. A small client became 5. 5 became 20. Within 3 years, his technology proved more efficient than anything Laurent Global had. Investors began circling. One bold venture capital group offered to back him in acquiring struggling corporate divisions. And when Laurent Global's stock quietly dipped after a risky overseas expansion failed, Daniel saw an opportunity that felt almost poetic. Back in the ballroom, Amelia's hands trembled. The text was real. The acquisition had been executed through a private investment firm. She hadn't even seen it coming. The board members around her were whispering, checking their own phones. Her father, pale and silent, stared into the distance as if watching his legacy dissolve in slow motion. A second message appeared, "We need to talk." Her chest tightened. A sudden wave of heat flushed through her body. The room felt smaller. The chandeliers seemed too bright. She couldn't breathe. For the first time in her life, Amelia Laurent felt powerless. The panic attack hit fast and merciless. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The confident woman who once commanded boardrooms was now fighting tears in front of hundreds of guests. Daniel wasn't there for revenge. He wasn't in the ballroom. He was at home, sitting beside his son who had just fallen asleep. He watched the live-streamed gala on his laptop, not with triumph, but with reflection. He remembered the humiliation. The cold dismissal. The security escort. But he also remembered walking home that day and promising himself that his son would grow up seeing resilience, not bitterness. When Amelia finally agreed to meet him the next morning, she arrived without makeup, without her usual entourage. The skyscraper that once bore her family's name now felt unfamiliar. Daniel stood in the same lobby where he had once waited nervously for performance reviews. Only this time, the power dynamic had shifted. Amelia expected arrogance. She expected him to savor the moment. Instead, she saw a calm man in a simple suit, eyes tired but steady. There was no smirk. No cruelty. Only quiet strength. Daniel didn't mention the past at first. He spoke about the future of the company. About innovation. About rebuilding trust with employees who felt unheard. About creating scholarship programs for children of laid-off workers. He talked about balance sheets and compassion in the same breath. Amelia listened, stunned. For years, she had equated leadership with dominance. She thought fear maintained respect. But here stood a man who had every reason to humiliate her, and chose dignity instead. Her voice shook as she finally acknowledged the day she had dismissed him. She admitted she had been insecure, trying to prove herself worthy of her father's legacy. She confessed that she had never learned how to lead with empathy. The apology wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. But it was real. Daniel saw not the CEO's daughter, but a human being cracking under the weight of inherited expectations. He told her something she had never heard before: success without humility is fragile. In the months that followed, L'Oréal Global transformed. Employees who once feared the executive floor now felt heard. Innovation flourished under collaboration rather than intimidation. Amelia stayed, not as the untouchable heiress, but as a partner willing to learn. She visited departments she had once ignored. She spoke to junior staff. She volunteered at the scholarship events Daniel initiated. Slowly, her leadership changed. And Daniel's son? He grew up watching his father build something not out of revenge, but resilience. He saw that strength isn't loud. It's patient. The night of the next annual gala looked different. The chandeliers still glowed. The champagne still sparkled. But when Amelia stood on stage, she didn't speak about profits first. She spoke about people. She spoke about failure. She thanked the man who had once been dismissed and now stood beside her as co-CEO. Sometimes the most powerful acquisitions aren't about companies. They're about perspective. If this story touched your heart even a little, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances. And before we close, comment the word humility if you believe true strength comes from lifting others, not overpowering them. Because in the end, the text that caused a panic attack became the beginning of a transformation. And sometimes, the person who buys your company is the same person who teaches you how to truly lead.